First of all, Zach Sullivan, I was very intrigued by that case study. Am I right in, that sort of symbiotic relationship between print, online, digital, and events, has that been seen in any of your other publications? Do you think you've hit on something that actually is a virtuous circle or not?
Absolutely. So seeing it as such a positive case study made us think differently about some of our other brands. So in the creative and design space, we've recently launched an e-learning platform where people are able to come and pay for the more premium content. They're also able to come to events. And it has had an equal diversification in its revenue model. And for us, that's a business priority. We need to get away from the addiction we've had in display revenue, and we're trying to move towards a more diverse revenue setup.
Can I give you a tip? Because I meet some strange people in my normal working life, and I recently met a person who is actually setting up a business running television channels of people showing people playing your games. Make sure you keep the television rights to your weekends. Otherwise, somebody else will close off that development. I kid you not. They're getting millions of views around the world, people watching others playing games. It's I don't begin to understand it, but I believe it to be so. Celine, yours is an international business. Yeah. Will Brexit have any negative or positive impact upon your business? We haven't mentioned the B word once today.
Well, actually, we're a business that quite likes uncertainty, because a lot of...
You're going to get plenty of that then.
Because a lot of what drives the need for information in our business is uncertainty. So actually, that works to our advantage, although it does impact, and as it would, the confidence of our advertisers. And so our marketing solutions, our digital solutions, that was slightly impacted. And actually, if you look at our performance through the year, you can see that being particularly prevalent around those months, but then coming back following that. So who knows, post-Trump or Clinton. Hopefully Clinton.
I think one might have a more dramatic effect than the other, actually.
Yeah. I had am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes.
I wanted to ask Zach too a question, which is we're obviously...
No, let's stop the gag now. Okay. He's really Zach Sullivan.
Right.
Zach Sullivan.
What are the chances? Genuinely.
That's why we've met them so much.
Unusual. One of the things we're trying to do is obviously get as much feedback from our audience fed back on the business. And as an international business and a business of many teams that work very closely together but sort of get information from different sources, you were saying that you sort of very successfully share that information across the group. What do you do? What could we learn from what Future does? So
internally, we've spread our MI packs out as widely as we can in the business. So we give people the raw data so that everyone in the business can access. It doesn't matter if you just joined the company, you've been here at long service, CEO to graduate, everyone gets access to an awful lot of the same MI packs, so you can see the quant data in there. And then we did loads of them. We do constant town halls, we do chalk and talk sessions, we do lunch and learns with all the staff to try and talk people through subject matters and try and give that feedback we're getting from the audience.
And you've got lovely offices in Bath as well.
Yeah, absolutely, in a lovely town, it's great. It's that constant internal communication flow, and then, like I said, we use the internal communication tools. I mean, we do use Slack a lot to post direct feedback, and if you want to know if you've upset somebody, go on Twitter. Yeah. The gamers love to give feedback.
Yes.
It's very useful.
Mr. Leonard, Zach Leonard, have you got a microphone?
Yes, I do.
What is the, and I do accept that what happened was almost certainly inevitable, and you've saved a lot of the journalism of the Independent. What sort of difference has it made to the culture of the Independent being online only, and is there danger of turning into a sweatshop where people are churning out stuff round the clock?
Yeah. Well, it's an excellent question. I used the word earlier, liberating, and it really, it's almost palpable, this feeling of having a single shared objective every day, and that is a continuous publishing objective throughout a 24-hour period. We're benefiting also now from an office based in New York and a presence in California. So the sense of constant publishing is now become a reality, and something I was quite used to back in my days at the FT, where we had around the globe publishing. And so that's a really, really interesting point. But if you come into the workflow of the daily grind of a newspaper, we already had that culture going with regard to the standard. So, you know, I was saying to this before the conference began this afternoon, is that the Standard has a DNA of publishing. People arriving 4:35 in the morning, they're getting ready for off-stone times as early as 11:30. So it's a vibe of energy and the creation of the content. We have this very peculiar challenge on the Standard.
And essentially 2 hours to hit your distribution.
Precisely, but we were creating content and generating that content already with regard to the newspaper and driving that through the Standard website. It was something that in the environment, if any of you have been to our offices, the Indie and the Standard are quite commingled together, and that sort of energy drive I think was really important. But the Indie and the Indie Print and Indie Digi, and there's a representative of our alumni in the audience here who will know what I'm talking about, where we had virtually 2 separate universes of people who never had to really speak to each other. And so we grew and kept growing the Digi side of the team without anything except for at night, at about 10 o'clock, a big pile of articles would come into the database. And it was just a mad, crazy cultural thing. But now that, and again with selection and bringing a lot of the most active and most gifted and probably the most enthusiastic journalists that we have from the historic print business into the digital operation, they're absolutely transformed, lively, writing more than they ever had. And this whole notion of quantity of content, you know, writing a single piece a day, or actually in some cases, truth be told, a single article or column a week. You cannot run a business on that basis, and particularly against the salaries that were there. So now we can invest and raise the bar and hopefully begin with some of the more junior journalists to be able to reward them in the way that they should be paid. And we know our competitors are paying higher than we are. So it's the quality of the content is now about a single energy and moving in that kind of judo sort of way together to produce just brilliant content and to keep the Independent alive for the next 30 years.
I feel the need to be mischievous one last time.
Go right ahead. I expect it of you.
One thing curiously missing from your presentation was a large investment in local television in London. Was that a disastrous mistake?
We certainly don't think so. I think it was an opportunity that had the power and this concentration of our expertise around London, again, largely developed over the last 130 some odd years, with the better part of 200 years now, the London Evening Standard. Who else would have been best positioned to do that? So the sort of harmony of the print domination through the London Evening Standard and our local delivery through the London Live network makes for a very, very interesting combination. The challenge of that business, if you know, of course, is one of scale. The way that advertising is traded in the TV market, certainly not my expertise, but I know enough about it in media in this market that it's really dominated by 1 or 2 players, and means by which you can get into that and to drive forward makes it a business that has to operate in the margins and to be managed very tightly on a P&L basis, and I think we're succeeding, certainly on that last point.
Thank you. All 3 of you have emphasized the necessity, the absolute fact of change and responding to change. For online publishers, the future is optimistic or not?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. I think it's moving away from the notion that we're just online publishers and the idea that
it's just publishing.
Exactly, and it's going to have lots of different revenue streams. You can have new ways to engage your audience. That's reflective of your audience moving at different platforms and wanting new events.
And how do you see the future, Celine, for your business, for the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly optimistic. There's a lot of growth to be had. There are lots of really interesting models out there. I think, it's very important when you're going through change to experiment and try new things, and I'm sure we're going to be sitting here in a year's time and there'll be lots of lessons learnt to be shared. So, yeah, very positive.
And same question to you, sir?
I'd echo the same, and I think it was very articulate in Celine's remarks, and the audience data and sort of content sort of triad, how that all works. we don't do enough in terms of understanding that audience, fully reacting to them and feeding that what is now certainly a two-way, if not three or four-way conversation. So that's where we need to focus our efforts to keep improving our products and services.
Thank you very much to all three of you. And now it's time to hand over to Richard Reeves.